Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And after a phenomenal weekend of Call of Duty, the question has been raised, when are we going to be getting this high level of competition back in a LAN environment? It's been a long time at this point. You can see the guys celebrating right here after a phenomenally high level Call of Duty action really between Toronto Ultra and the Atlanta FaZe this past weekend. So many great moments from this tournament and I'm sure we would love to have back in a LAN environment. Is that going to be happening relatively soon? And well, one of the potential ways that could be happening is through some sort of bubble type scenario. Methodz certainly has some thoughts on players that aren't keen to go along with this idea. Enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. You can see the reaction here from the Toronto guys after a phenomenal tournament victory. You can imagine what this would have been like in front of a crowd after, well, such a great series where honestly it was super down to the wire. And well, these were some other great moments from the weekend. This, I mean, the accuracy 1 versus 3 will honestly go down in Call of Duty history. This in a LAN environment in front of a crowd would have been absolutely mind-blowing, I'm sure. And there were some other moments like this as well. For example, this one from Crimsix against FaZe in the grand final here on the, I mean, this is just absolutely insane. Like, look at the CJHaLy goes for. I just find it so funny after he goes on a 5 spree, gets 2 more as well at bottom pool house, and then manages to, you know, absolutely go for the world star in the final guy as well, because he was completely dominating everyone. And this in front of a crowd, I mean, once again, would have been absolutely incredible stuff. Now, of course, a bubble doesn't necessarily mean a crowd environment, right? And okay, we're hoping that, okay, we've had no announcements yet on what it could be for stage 3, maybe stage 4 in a couple of months' time. A LAN, well, it might not be an unreasonable situation to, well, expect that to be the case with any luck indeed. Now, whether there's a crowd present, of course, is, well, certainly a different question to behold. But regardless of how it could potentially be done or whether it is realistic to expect it to be the case, because we've seen Activision talk, you know, not too long ago, the fact that, okay, what is exactly the future here of, you know, of LAN events, because they were saying, all right, well, this kind of online environment, it's working kind of well for us. It's relatively easy to do. Maybe that we do the group play forever in an online environment and it's just the majors at LAN. But at least for the near future, that's, well, not an unreasonable compromise to happen for, you know, maybe the next few months for the rest of this stage, for the rest of the season. Could make sense. Next season, I would certainly hope that if we can do as much as possible in a LAN environment, as GodDirect says, now we really need LAN back. And, well, as Octane says also, just wasting series like that, just phenomenal series playing from our bedrooms, we need LAN back ASAP. And I think this was the crazy moment as well, where Accuracy got that 3-piece. We're wasting these moments. Get us back to LAN now as soon as possible. This is, well, this is exactly what we have to do. And the OpTic guys have been talking about it as well, right? Like, we miss LAN as well. They want to go back to, you know, LAN, as Scump say, like, you know, so I can look you in the eye and talk trash across the stage. And these kind of moments are just like what really makes Call of Duty. And I see some clips occasionally from when we were back on LAN, and it did just make, it was such a much better environment, right? And, you know, it's just, of course, been missed for the last season. I think the last one was maybe the Los Angeles home series that, I mean, who was it that won it? I think Dallas Empire won it, right? In the Modern Warfare season. But we haven't had a LAN event since then. Now, other esports have been doing it. Other esports have made it work. They've, you know, done bubbles, or they've, you know, quarantined for a certain amount of time in certain facilities, and they've made that work. Now, it could be kind of awkward to do this in Call of Duty, right? Because, I mean, they play a lot of league matches through like 3 weeks, and then you've got basically 2 days off from the Sunday to the, well, the Wednesday when the major starts. So doing like all of those group play matches online, and then, you know, somehow quarantining ahead of a major wouldn't really work. So maybe you could probably do that for a world championship, but for the majors just after the group play, maybe that's not quite so reasonable to expect. But I still think it will, a significant degree of likelihood that it will happen for maybe stage 4, stage 5 major this season. I'm sure some plans are in the works, whether it comes to fruition or not, whether, well, they think it's actually worth the expenditure, that is a question. But there was some significant questions as well through the off season as to, okay, one way that we might be able to do this would be, all right, we'll have some sort of bubble situation. All the players come to the same kind of place. There's, you know, quarantining in and out, you know, all this kind of enforcement stuff, that whatever they would do to make it work. And this was talked about back in September, you know, potential bubble system going on in 2021 in Las Vegas, or potentially Dallas as it was at the time. But Scump wasn't too keen on the idea. He was, well, pretty frustrated about the fact that, you know, he's got a girlfriend, he's got a cat, like, you know, he lives in a house, right? He doesn't necessarily want to be leaving all of that to go to, you know, this facility for the entire season long. I think that's really where the frustration came from, the fact that, you know, they were not particularly happy, you know, some players, Scump certainly included, stuck in a bubble for an entire season when they have a life outside of that, certainly, although they're a professional Call of Duty player. So Scump wasn't too keen on it, and I'll play this clip on screen for you guys in just a second here. But on the flank a couple of days ago, after Toronto Ultra got their crazy victory, Methodz was talking about the fact that, look, if you don't want to bubble, you're just a straight up loser. Like, you know, if you're a professional Call of Duty player, this is what you should want, this is what is best for our scene. And yeah, if you're not willing to go on board with it to make this happen and to get back to that environment, and to, well, to get back to the highest degree of competitive integrity when there is no online latency issues and such, then, well, you know, that is not exactly the opinion that you should take.
A bubble? What the f am I gonna do about my dog, my cats? The bubble? I don't want a bubble.
It's expensive.
That's true.
Dude, to run a bubble, and you're talking about testing, you're talking about enforcement of like social distancing. You're talking about like you got to bring in specific catering because everything's got to be in the bubble, and you got to get security. You got to get all the COVID testing. This is multiple millions of dollars that they would have to spend just on maintaining the bubble.
I wonder how they can afford that.
Yeah, you say that, but fair. I mean that's that can't just make money appear out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, listen, no, I agree. Yeah. I think from their side, I get not doing a LAN bubble. From a player side, if you said no to a LAN bubble, you're a loser. Oh, I got cats, I got a dog, I got a girlfriend. I don't give a.
You calling out a specific player with that?
No. I swear to God, I'm calling out nobody. But I'm saying,
who said that?
If you're a competitor, you do it. If you're a competitor, you do anything.
Zinny's calling out Scump?
Oh, God.
Wait, did Scump say that?
Wait, the chat is saying you're calling out Scump.
Dude, listen.
No, it seems like a very specific risk.
No, it's not.
Loony in the chat now.
All I'm saying is I don't give a. Wall assemble! If you're a competitor, wait. I actually had no idea Seth said that. That's my boy. But like, listen. Green wall attack me. Go ahead. All I'm saying as a competitor, I would think most of us would want to do anything we can to do LAN. And thinking back to Columbus, when we were all in Columbus, bro, that was the time of our lives, bro. We had such a good time being all together in person, which it wasn't a bubble, but it's like, bro, it's just such a good time being with everybody. You know what I mean?
The Columbus League was a lot of fun.
Definitely. That definitely was a lot of fun.
We had great memories.
Now, it turned out, of course, as Hex said right here a couple of months later, there will be no CDL bubble for next season. Teams will be required to play in the same facility. Well, this was a discussion at the time. It has kind of changed somewhat since then, right? Given that we know that some players are not necessarily at the same facility. And we're kind of, in some of these series, for example, OpTic versus Dallas, where they're playing both in Texas, very close to each other on a Texas server. Like those series, and they're all playing next to each other. Like, that kind of stuff is probably as close to LAN as we can reasonably expect to get for at least the near future. So, it's nice to not have to worry too much about the online stuff so far this season. We have heard some discussion about Toronto, for example. There was a tweet that came out from Karma, I think, calling Toronto the Texas Killers, because they took out Los Angeles Thieves, they took out OpTic this tournament, they took out Rokkr, they took out Dallas, and well, that was pretty crazy. All those teams, I believe, are based in Texas. Atlanta, of course, are actually based still in Atlanta. But the discussion was kind of like, okay, hang on a second, right? Toronto, they're based in Toronto. Does that give them some advantage in terms of the server vetoes or like whatever servers they're playing on through, to a Texas team? They beat a lot of Texas teams, of course, this past weekend. So maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But thankfully, it hasn't been too much of a discussion point so far this season. The online issues. It was discussed a lot last season, of course, after everything did go online. The fact that, okay, OpTic Gaming Los Angeles, Slasher & Co. playing out of California, that wasn't ideal given the servers that they have. But now I think they've got a lot more servers set up around the kind of West Coast area, and that makes a lot of the matches a lot fairer in terms of what teams are pinging than, well, it was last season, certainly. So, step in the right direction. Call of Duty has still been great to watch, but at the end of the day, can you expect phenomenal viewership and in-person, live viewing if you don't have players at the actual event? And I think that's a great way to get people into the scene, because I remember when I went to CDL London, I think it was it was a London event right at the start of last season in February. There was a lot of people that were going along that just kind of like had heard it was going on locally. They went to the event, they loved it. I'm sure they became Call of Duty fans as a result, and that kind of stuff is a great way to get people into the scene. The fact that it's not an option right now is pretty unfortunate. Maybe it will be in the coming days and months. Hopefully, I'm sure it will be in a matter of time. But whether a short-term bubble could be an option is also a way to go. Maybe if it's necessary, if things go kind of sour for the World Championship, for example. But Methodz is kind of wondering whether teams will actually be willing to get on board with this idea. One thing I wanted to talk about as well was this. So the next stage, Stage 3, Week 1, begins April 22nd to the 25th. And I wanted to discuss the chaos that could be for the groups right here. So not long away, this next stage starts. And as you can see, this is some of the expectations for what these groups might look like. But they are going to be absolutely stacked. There's so many great teams that come out of this major. It's honestly, these groups are going to be insane. So Toronto are going to be in Group A because they won the tourney. FaZe are going to be first seed in Group B, and then Toronto get to pick a team to go into FaZe's group. So you can imagine they pick Dallas, or probably Dallas. You would expect they're probably the number 3 team in the game right now. If you wanted to look at it from perspectives from of course this past major, they did come third. Once again, did the Dallas Empire. So then FaZe will pick a team that they might well pick up. So you imagine imagine they pick an OpTic, because if they don't pick OpTic, then probably OpTic will find their way into their group, and then you've got FaZe, Dallas, and OpTic in one group. That's probably not something you would expect to happen. So probably FaZe will pick OpTic to go into this group, and then it will go back and forth with teams that get selected into certain pools picking the next teams. So okay, like Dallas, I mean, who will they pick? Maybe they'll pick the Rokkr, that would make sense. OpTic might then pick New York to go over here, but I mean, like, already these groups are insane, and then you're considering the fact that we've got Seattle looking much better, we've got Florida making a change, they might improve, we've got Paris potentially making a change, they might improve, and then we've got Los Angeles Thieves that look really scary as well. So like, already looking at these pools, to decide which 3 teams are going to get out into the winners is pretty insane. I'm not exactly sure they will line up like this. I mean, it'll be really interesting to see what teams decide to do, whether they decide to put a team which technically, you know, you would argue is better into the other pool just because they don't have a particularly good matchup with that team. There could be a lot of mind games going on here, but regardless, it's going to be absolute chaos. These were some of the stats as well for peak viewership this past weekend. We just about crossed 100,000 viewers, which to be honest, for Stage 2 Major isn't too bad, because typically right at the start of the season the viewership is really good, and then it kind of drops off Stage 2, Stage 3, and then picks up towards the latter half of the season. It tends to be like that for the World Championship, where it tends to do pretty well. So I thought this is pretty respectable, all things considered. The Grand Finals was 83,000 or something, which wasn't really too bad given it was like 2 AM in Europe, and no OpTic in the Grand Finals either. But intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well. I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care, and I will see you next time.
As E6 are making this push work out, but again, the spawners for OpTic are so close. That top courtyard to the left of them. And they're in through the front line. Dashy! It's all 5 for Dashy, as OpTic now will likely get the next 30.
I have never seen a clean sweep like that before. And that may just give him the confidence to go a little further. Does he need it? Probably not. He's 19 and 9. He's trying to catch up to Scump. It's just a battle of the beasts right now.
200 points cleared now for OpTic. After a play like that, the roar of the crowd here in the Paulie Pavilion, it's hard to really come back. E6, do they have the resolve, the metal now, to make a comeback happen on Seaside? We've seen enough so far in COD Champs. What's one more to add to the books? Karma though, with this slam, looking to end it here up over the top. It's a loud bang, but it's all for nothing. He won't find the kill either. We're still seeing the contest come through. Crimsix vision pulse comes through. He needs to stay alive for as long as he can, hoping for streaks.
Nice trophy as well there. Combined with TJ's War Machine, he's going to be this perfect entrance. Finds one, finds the second, finds the third. TJ, he's got a... TJ, oh my God! TJ! Oh my word! What is this game?
Give him number 7.